And finally, we come to step 3, which is reflecting. So first you planned your post-assessment lesson plan. Step 2, you analyze the results of that assessment based on your pre-assessment baseline data. So you analyzed. In step 3, you're going to reflect. So this is how did it go and how will it guide further instruction in the future. So using your data analysis, how will it impact further instruction for the whole class? Based on this assessment, based on this lesson plan, what are some things that you might change or do different in the future, or that you like, that you'll keep the same? Are there any modifications to the assessment process that you would like to change? Maybe you didn't like the pre-post being the same thing because you weren't able to get any good data from that. Or maybe you needed the pre-post to be the same because the way you didn't give you the information you needed. So this is just what modifications are you going to make to the data collection process in the future and why. Provide that rationale. What modifications would you make to the assessment itself? When you teach this lesson again next year, if you teach this lesson again next year, what would you modify on the post-assessment for future use? Not the baseline data, but the post-assessment. And make sure you provide a rationale. Maybe next time you teach this lesson, you are going to do a shorter, more open-ended assessment with 3 questions instead of a worksheet with 10 questions. Because the 10 questions, even though there was more, they were not in-depth enough. And there you go. Just what might you change and why will you change it? And then what ways is the assessment if there was a different assessment, how could it further show students' understanding? So in what ways would a different type of assessment give you different information about your students? So that's 2.3.1, assessing and reflecting on the whole class. And again, the second part is assessing and reflecting on those 2 focus students. So choose one aspect of the assessment for either focus student and a rationale. What was one thing about the assessment that the students did really well on, that they were successful? How did your data analysis guide future instruction for the 2 focus students? Moving on from this lesson, what are you going to do next? What's your future instruction based on the data? And would you modify the assessment differently for those 2 focus students in the future, or similar students in the future, and provide a rationale? So that is 2.3.2, and that should be the last part of task 2.